When it comes to teaching our kids how to read, a lot of moms get really nervous about homeschooling, but I don't understand why. What I really want to do is just encourage you that it doesn't have to be a stressful thing. It doesn't have to be something that you are terrified of doing. I actually think it is quite a natural thing for our kids to learn how to read, but really, the key is taking patience and sitting right alongside them and reading with them and giving them time to develop. I've heard silly things like kids aren't ready to read until they can put their arm over their head and cover their opposite ear fully with their hand. It just means that they're not there yet. I think is kind of the point of it, is that kids they need time, and sometimes we push things too early in life. Now, I'll admit that my children seem to not have any kind of learning disabilities. I did growing up. I really struggled to learn how to read and how to spell. And you know what? I went to public school. But my kids have done really well with the method that I have taken and the approach that I have taken to teaching them how to read. So I thought I would share that with you today, but I'm not a professional. I don't have a lot of ways to really explain why it works this way, but I will do my best. I want to say one more thing before I really get into this. Susanna Wesley took her kids at 5 years old with the Bible and started teaching them how to read. That it was her curriculum, the Bible. And she would just patiently point out the different letters, the sounds that they make, and what they are. And their curriculum was reading the Bible. And that is how families went about it for a really long time. So I don't think we always have to be as afraid as we might be when it comes to this topic. The approach that I have decided to take is teaching them how to encode, not just decode. A lot of curriculums want you to do a reading program where they are learning how to, they break it up. A says add, and that is it, and you pull those pieces out, and eventually you'll add in more information. The Orton-Gillingham approach is a bit different. That is where you teach your children not only that A says ah, but all the sounds it could potentially make. So this is all about spelling. I actually don't use the all about reading curriculum because I don't feel like I need to, and I've really appreciated this. But it comes along with these flashcards. And what's gonna happen is you show your child this card and you say all of the sounds that this letter can make. A, ah. A as in apple, A as in acorn, and ah as in water. There you go. Now your child is actually equipped to figure out what that word is that they are reading, because they know all the possibilities that an A can make. And so then I take my kids through all of them, all 26 letters, and the sounds that they can make. P says P, J says J, but G says G and J, not just G. It also says J. So let's teach our kids that from the beginning. What's another one here that makes multiple sounds? Q does not make a sound on its own. It is always with you, and it says qu. S says S and Z. O says ah, o, oo, Ah as in odd, O as in open, oo as in two, and as in oven. The word to. Now, some people might just do this as a sight word. Sight words did not work for me at all. I was awful at sight words, but I could learn to decode or encode because that's what spelling is. So I appreciate that right here, I am equipped when I see an O to figure out what sound it's going to make. And then that's what you're gonna do with all of these. Eventually it gets into a couple of blends also. Oh, here's Y. What sounds does Y make? Y, I, E. It says E so often, but we just tell our kids, oh, it just says E, like that's just what it is at the end of a word, it says E. But there's actually reasons, and that's the other point. So then you are given these blue cards that actually tell you why certain letters make certain sounds. Okay, we all know that C says S before I, E, and Y, and that's what this one is. Now, there's another card that says when we hear K at the beginning of a word, what letter should we always try first? The answer is C, not K. And then if the C is followed by an I, E, or Y, we know that it should be a K because the C would say otherwise. Like, it gives these great explanations. And then by knowing these rules, or how about this one? So when do you use CK to make the sound K? A short vowel sound. That's the only time you're gonna use a CK is after a short vowel sound. So what about reading then? I have some more cards that I think are really important that I wanna share with you, but for the first readers that I do with my kids, we get out the Bob books. And these follow right along, so it's really easy to read while you're learning all of these spelling rules. And we're gonna start with Matt, and this is M-A-T, Sam sat on Matt. These are just funny little stories with simple little words, and your kids like Trevor, like, this is my little book, and they can read it, and they can read it over and over. Man, my youngest son had to take this like everywhere and show everyone, look, I can read this book, and it was so precious. We love these. But actually, just today, my son was reading Muff and Rough. There's a rule that goes along with this. Why are the F's doubled at the end? Do you know why? It's because F, L, and S are often doubled at the end of a single syllable word with a short vowel sound. So when your child spells muff, M-U-F, you can say, oh, what's the rule about an F being at the end of a word? It's a short vowel, it's only got one syllable. Oh, right. F is often doubled at the end of, and so we know these rules. We have incorporated them. I don't even have to really use all of the curriculum anymore because when we are reading this, I introduce that rule to my child and he's getting that there. And then there's a lot of examples of the F being doubled at the end of this word. The vowel in a closed syllable is usually short. Okay, so for example, we have the word bed, b-e-d. The vowel in there is a short vowel sound. What if we take the D off? Now it's an open syllable, so the E is going to say its name. That goes the same with before, right? Before. B is one syllable, for is another syllable. And so because that first syllable is left open without a consonant at the end, the E is going to say its name. You could wait until you go to spelling for these rules, but why? You don't need to because it's right here. You can be learning this right along with reading and your spelling at the same time. Now, I do like the All About Reading books as well. This is actually book 3, but again, it's going to go right along with level 1 of All About Spelling. So I don't have the All About Reading curriculum, I just have the readers, and they go right along with all of the rules that we are doing. So by the time my son is done with this first box of Bob, we are going to move on to these readers. There are several stories within one reader. You can sometimes find them used on different sites. I really do like these. When my child is then done with these, or even not done, even sooner than that, we have the Usborne My First Reading library, which are short books like this here, Double Trouble. And what you do is you, as the parent, read this part, and your child is going to read the big letters, and then you just go through the story. Eventually, they'll be able to come back through and read the whole story by themselves, but right now, you're reading together. Then at the end, there are puzzles and discussion questions. There's actually some like sneaky extra reading because you have to match the correct sentence with the correct image, and so this gives your child extra reading practice. After that, I love the Life of Fred Beginning Reader series. And once my children have completed this series, which is a lot of books, 18 books, I think, they're not cheap, but I've been able to use them with all 4 of my boys, so it was totally worth it to me. Plus, we love Life of Fred for our math also. Once my kids are done with these though, they're pretty competent readers, and they are off on their own reading chapter books and series. And then as we are continuing to learn our spelling through All About Spelling, their vocab is growing in there too. They're learning how to decode more things. And I just think this has worked so well for us. And I wish that parents didn't feel like they had to stress so much with the reading process. Now, it is possible that you have a very struggling reader, in which case you might need something a little more formal. I know that people love Logic of English, and my friend Morgan from Life of Tillman has an excellent video I will link down below about that curriculum. But ultimately, if your child is really struggling, they might just need more time. And that's okay. You don't have to be racing with other kids and other standards. They don't have to learn at a specific point. Let your children be little and don't force them to read, because then they will not like reading. I have a story of a friend who is a genius. Like, this girl could do anything. She is so smart, but she hates reading because she says that in school, people knew that she could read well, and so they kept challenging her with harder books, and she never just got to sit and enjoy a book. She was always being challenged at the next level, and now she just doesn't want to read. She doesn't view reading as a fun thing to do. It is only for learning, and only when people are forcing you to learn. And so she doesn't enjoy reading. Give your kids room to breathe and to read fun, silly things. That's okay. And if you want to challenge them with deeper concepts, you can read to them in your family read alouds. And that's really, really a good thing. All right, I'm going to have another video coming out really soon about the spelling curriculum that we chose compared to some other spelling curriculums that are out there. If you're interested in what those are, you can click here. Thank you so much for joining, guys. Here's another video that you might be interested in. Until then, and I will see you soon.